Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome. Becoming a community builder. What's that all about? I just had a shot of Mountain Dew. Hey, welcome. Friday afternoon. It's noon. All across the province of Alberta, we have over 800 people joining. Maybe not joining right now. They might be joining via the archive over the holiday weekend or maybe next week, but they're joining. Over 800 people. Now look at this. I want to look at this list. Well, first of all, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you haven't got a brown bag lunch, whatever you got there. My microphone is not sitting right, but listen to this. This is where people are at right now. Lacombe City Hall and Council meeting, our council chambers. The Clive Library. The Learning Center in Hannah, upstairs in the boardroom. Special areas number 4 in the boardroom, there in Consort. The Ponoka Town Hall. Ponoka Secondary School for the young people this afternoon. The Super 8 Motel in Rimbey, because I guess they got good internet at the Super 8. It's awesome. Pincher Creek Library, Parent Link in Pincher, Waterton Community Center, Rockyford Municipal Library, Strathmore Chamber of Commerce, Bow Bench Retreat. Woot woot. That's a great place, man. Strathmore Municipal Library, the Village of Delburn, Mayor Ray, what's up? My man, Mayor Ray, and Karen and all of them. The village offices in Two Hills, Elsie and the team, and others, Or maybe you're joining us at a business, or maybe you're over at the hospital in Pincher. Hey, Terry and Chelan and all of you. Who knows? But I know this, we got over 800 people in communities, rural communities across the province joining us. And that's awesome. And you know what the one thing they have in common is? Even though they may be an elected official, even though they may be a business person, even though they may be a single mom, even though they may be a senior, even though they may be a first generation new Canadian, even though they may be a first generation new Albertan, you know what the one thing all of you have in common is? You want to build a better community. And most importantly, you're willing to work at getting yourself better so you can go build a better family, build a better business, build a better organization, build a better neighborhood, build a better community. That's really cool. Look, we got a lot to do today, so I'm not going to dilly-dally. I'm going to get straight into it. Hopefully you have your handouts. Because now we're going to start the learning of the competencies that the times require, in my opinion, in our opinion. Remember the theory here. The theory is that if for rural communities going to be relevant in the 21st century, and we believe they have to be, we believe it's urgent that rural communities are relevant in the 21st century. If they're going to be relevant, it'll be because of the informal and formal leadership capacity, community leadership capacity, the ability of individuals within all of the different sectors and all of the different silos to be able to lead. And not just the formal leaders. Congratulations that all of you that in the most recent municipal election were ascended or elected into office. Awesome. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment, and thank you for your willingness to serve in that capacity. It's a hard job. But it's not just their job to build me a town, build you a town. It's the informal leadership capacity that must be high for us to be successful in the 21st century. Then the question is, do you exhibit the leadership approaches the times require? Now, for the last 3 weeks, we've been igniting the fire. I gave you some very specific tasks. 1, look at that change continuum. Do you have a process for changing? I can't introduce new concepts and new skills if you don't have a way to then take those skills and make them a part of you. That was the change continuum. And then looking back to move forward, the leadership history survey. How did I become the leader that I am? 80% of my leadership approaches are what? Unconscious habits. So I better figure out how those habits got developed. And then the most recent thing I challenge you to do is this: call or talk to your best boss or your best leader. Why? 1, Gratitude. I'm not going to be able to be a successful leader today unless I show gratitude. We're tired of the arrogant leader that thinks that their little thing that they lead is their personal Disneyland, Mayor Ford. It's not your personal Disneyland. Why are you pausing? Because I'm calming. I'm calming. It's not why we're here, for me to go off. So I'm calming. Pins and needles, needles and pins. It's a happy man that grins. Only a few people would understand that reference to Ralph Cramden, right? And the Honeymooners. Okay, listen. So, I don't even know where I was going. Mayor Ford threw me off. Where was I? Oh yeah. So the leadership capacities. Oh, calling your best leader. 1, to show gratitude. 2, to show humility. We long for leaders that have some humility on them today. 3, the purpose of you connecting with that human being, looking in their eyes or talking to them on the phone, not just sending an email. If you at all can, look them in the eye and talk to them on the phone. Is so that you realize you have the capacity to be on the other end of that phone or conversation sometime in the future. You're going to be somebody's best boss. You're going to be somebody's best leader. Fact is, you have a moral obligation to do so. And now here we are today. What are we doing now? Okay, so we ignited the fire. We started the juices flowing. You're starting to understand how this process works, the emails and the videos and the coaching session. But now we got to start learning. So now to the end, all we're going to start doing is introducing tools, introducing a competency and then the tools that support it. Competency, tools that support it. Competency, tools that support it. The competencies, the skills, abilities, attributes, and qualities that make you an effective leader today, in our opinion. Why? What do you mean your opinion? Who are you? Well, you know what? Guess what? 160 projects, 223,000 people. We know. And I'm not pulling out of my bum. We know what marshals human capital today. I had presented this earlier, 3 weeks ago, but I'm going to do it again. Community building. A community builder is the leadership approach I think the times require. How does it manifest itself? They have the ability to build partnerships and consensus. You're not going to get it all done by yourself, either you or your organization. They have the ability to inspire other people. You need people's permission to lead them today. You're not going to lead them by barking, intimidating, shouting orders at them. To move others towards a shared goal. Someone who can tap into the collective intelligence. The problems are too complex, too multifaceted for any one person's brain. And anybody that claims to have all the solutions is a liar. Don't listen to them. Yeah, but you're claiming to have all the answers. I didn't say I was claiming to have all the answers. I was claiming to have some very specific answers to very specific things. But nobody has all the answers. And you got to take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'll lay it at your feet. You pick it up. You examine it. Check to see if it makes sense. If it makes sense, do it. If it doesn't make sense, throw this crap aside. I almost slipped there. The community builder can provide direction when people don't know what to do. The community builders are more about influence. We're going to talk about that the next 3 weeks. The agent of change doesn't change things by any other way than trusting relationships to exert influence. We're going to talk about that today. Pay attention and respond to trends. They can see what might happen. We'll talk about that in the coming weeks. They realize the world has flattened. And so it's not about attitudinally about hierarchy or title or authority. It's about something else. They can facilitate the creation of a collective vision and direction to get buy-in. They're authentic, honest, and direct. And they are known because they genuinely care about other people. They genuinely care. To all of you newly elected officials, listen and listen closely. It's not about what I get. It's now what you're expected to give. It's not about what favor I can curry to advance myself. It's about what I am going to have to sacrifice for the betterment of others. We long for leaders that have that mindset. Those life's 5 most urgent questions. By now, you should have taken the Leadership History Survey. If you haven't, make sure you do it next week. From that, we get a snapshot of how you gain the leadership style you're employing today, the people, circumstances, life experience that helped shape you. Once we know where we have been and evaluate where we're at, we can begin to clarify where we want to go as a leader. You have a real chance you will have a real chance of reaching your leadership potential if you do that. As I've said before, if you can move closer to your best, then our organizations move closer to their best. And if that happens, our communities move closer to become their best. So, what are the leadership competencies that times require? There's 5. The first one today, agent of change. Now that little phrase gets used in 100 different ways and conjures up all kinds of connotations. So turn your page, hopefully you have your handouts, turn your page, we're rocking and rolling now. Jumping straight into it. The agent of change. My definition. The agent of change, today's leader, understands, key word, demonstrates, does it, and exerts influence by building trusting relationships to act as a catalyst for change. The agent of change understands that for me to gain alignment, remember we talked about alignment, for me to gain alignment, these arrows going in the different directions, the only way for me to get this arrow today to go in this direction, or to get a bunch of arrows to go along with me, is I have to be able to build a trusting relationship. And then from that trusting relationship, I exert influence. Check out this movie clip. Jeff, cue up the Babe movie clip. I want you to watch this movie clip. As goofy as it is, I want you to watch this movie clip because it's about a management style. 2 different management styles deployed. I would suggest to you it's the latter management style that the times require. Check out this movie clip.
Get him up, pig.
He wants you to drive them out of the yard.
Away to me, pig.
Remember, you have to dominate them. Do that and they'll do anything you want. Go, go.
Woof! Ruff, ruff, ruff! Woof! Woof! Ruff, woof, woof, woof! Woof, woof, woof! This is ridiculous, Mom.
Nonsense. It's only your first try. But you're treating them like equals. They're sheep. They're inferior.
Oh, no, they're not.
Of course they are. We're their masters, babe. Let them doubt it for a second and they'll walk all over you.
Fly! Get that pig out of there!
Make them feel inferior. Abuse them. Insult them.
Fly!
They'll laugh at me.
And bite them. Be ruthless. Whatever it takes, bend them to your will.
Enough!
Go on. Go.
Move along there, you big buttheads.
Youngin, stop this nonsense. What's got into you all of a sudden? I just got finished telling what a nice young pig you be.
Ma, I was just trying to be a sheepdog.
Huh, enough wolves in the world already, without a nice lad like you turning nasty. You haven't got it in you, youngin.
I'm sorry I bit you. Are you all right?
Well, I wouldn't call that a bite myself. You got teeth in that floppy mouth of yours or just gum?
You see, ladies, a heart of gold. No need for all this wolf nonsense, youngin. All a nice little pig like you need do is ask.
Oh! What the world? Okay, so what's the point of that? What's the point of that clip? The point is that the times require a leadership approach that's built through trusting relationships. Why? Because times have changed. Barking at someone, literally or figuratively, is not going to be effective. We don't trust leaders anymore for a lot of different reasons. And we are in a user-driven society. What does that mean? That means that people are used to having a say. People are used to having some control. So that when you come along with an autocratic leadership approach, and whether that is you personally or your institution, people aren't going to play. They don't respect authority. Not because authority shouldn't be respected, but because authority has violated that trust in many different levels and many occasions. Now, whether you have violated that trust or not, I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that collectively, we don't trust leaders as much anymore. So we're in a changed time. So it takes a different approach. So if I want to change something, I understand and demonstrate and exert influence by building trusting relationships. And that's how I act as a catalyst for change. Now I want you to quickly take this self-survey. I can't see the clock because that light is right in my eyes. I want you to take this little self-survey. Babe got it. The sheep said to Babe, hey, just ask us. Babe had a trusting relationship with those sheep. They appreciated Babe's heart. They appreciated Babe's approach. And they said, stop barking at us. Just tell us what you need and we'll do it. Sound familiar? Sound familiar, Jeff? Stop barking at me. Just tell me what you need, what you want done. Give me clarity. Show me what the goal is. Show me what my role is. Show me what winning is, and I'll do it. And then let me participate. Treat me with some value. Treat me with some respect, and you'll go a lot further. So I want you to take this little self-survey. From now on, when we introduce a competency, I will give you this little self-survey. Now, this little self-survey helps us with the indicators of the competency. They moved the clock for me, thank you. With the indicators of the competency. I'm just going to read them randomly. You take a few minutes and circle. 10, I'm totally like that. 1, I'm nothing like that. Let's go through them. I believe I can make a difference. That's right, Ian. No, do you really believe it? We long for leaders that believe tomorrow can be better than yesterday. Or have you become jaded and cynical and crusty? How many of you know someone, don't make eye contact in the room, that has become crusty? Well, do you believe you can make a difference? I'm aware that people learn and communicate in different ways. Do you understand that there's different communication approaches? I can adapt my communication style to meet the needs of others. In the past, the leader demanded that we bend to them. You bend to me. You communicate the way I communicate. How about this one? What kind of a mood are they in today? That's what we used to say about our leaders. Today, that won't fly. I understand my emotions and the impact that they have on my performance and the performance of others. I can facilitate activities that will remove attitudinal barriers. Most change is prevented not by dollars, not by money, no, attitudinal barriers. You stop and think about this. If the right 7 people got their attitudes aligned, if they got their attitudes aligned with where you wanted to go, would things get done? Absolutely. If the right few people got in alignment with where you wanted to go, if their attitudes were aligned with yours, things would get done. You know it and I know it. It's not about resource. It's about attitudinal. So attitudinal barriers, can you recognize them? Can you remove them? I'm just reading now randomly. You go through the list. I'm even keel despite up and downs in my life. I can apply strategies for building trust. I understand political governance at the local, provincial, and national levels. I nurture positive relationships with people of influence. Not people of prominence in town. not people of prominence within your organization. Who are the people of influence? It's all about influence today. Ah, what are you talking about? You mean really rich guys who can tell? No, 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 no. Think about how you make a purchase today. You make a purchase based on 5 stars. And whether it's a trip that you want to go on, whether it's a truck you want to buy, whether it's a piece of technology, or even a restaurant you want to go to, you're looking for the 5 stars, or the 4 stars, or the 3 stars. I promise you this, if you look and see that something has 1 star, you ain't doing it and you ain't buying it. Why? Because you trust that. It influences you. There's literally billions of dollars being spent on this whole thing of influence purchasing. Why? Because all of the big multinational corporations know what I'm trying to tell you, that it's about building a trusting relationship so that influence can be exerted. You just think of your purchasing habits now and how much of it is influenced purchasing. I can influence the political decision-making process. I can apply strategies for ensuring positive media relations. I apply diverse, sophisticated sets of facilitation models, skills, and techniques. Look at that now. Where do you land? Now, why do you take the survey? To focus your learning energy. Over the next 3 weeks, I'll introduce a concept today, and then over the next 3 weeks, we're going to unpack the concept. What's the concept? It is the competency agent of change. Define that, Ian. The agent of change understands, demonstrates, and exerts influence. How do they do it? They build trusting relationships. And through the trusting relationships and the influence they exert, change happens. Change happens. Now, over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to unpack that in 3 different avenues of change. This is really important because we have business people watching, participating. We have elected officials watching and participating. We have moms watching and participating. We have faith leaders watching and participating. So how could it possibly be relevant to them all? This is how. I'm going to present the competency, the concept, and then I'm going to give you 3 different ways that it could manifest itself. How do I change something in a community? How do I change something in an organization? How do I change the performance of someone that I lead, employee or volunteer? So over the next 3 weeks, we're going to unpack this in those 3 ways in an attempt to teach you the concept in real and practical terms. But in every situation, the agent of change understands and recognizes whether I'm trying to change someone's performance, whether I'm trying to change an organization's culture or performance, or if I'm trying to change a community, initiate a new program, initiate a new way of doing things, or starting a new initiative. It's always going to boil down to this. Agent of change understands, demonstrates, and exerts influence by building trusting relationships, and that's how change gets done. So it's important over the next 3 weeks that you clue in. Just coming to the hour doesn't work. That's why the emails, that's why those pieces are so critical, because this is how we can take really complex information and unpack it over a period of time. All right, turn the page. So the agent of change is aware that times have changed, and attitudinal barriers are the hardest of all to penetrate. Hardest of all to penetrate. So if the only way to get this arrow going this way, that's not good. If the only way to get the arrow to go this way that was going that way, to get them turned around, is influence, then what's the key to influence? The key to influence today is trust. Then what are the keys to building trust? Now, it may seem trite, it may seem simple, but I'm going to tell you, the majority of people I meet don't have that in their skill set. They don't know how to connect with people who don't look like them, smell like them, taste like them. They don't know how to connect outside of their generation. There's 6 generations in the workplace. There's 7 generations in our communities. So how do I build trusting relationships with all of them? People that don't look like me, taste like me, go where I go, do what I do. I don't have the advantage of people just coming from my clan anymore. Clan speaking figuratively. Now all of a sudden I've got to build trusting relationships with people that don't see the world the way I see it, go where I go, do what I do. That's why it's important to have a very focused conversation around how do I build trust, proactively build trust, intentionally build trust, strategically build trust. How do I build trust? You stop and think about it. In your town or in your business, big or small, here you are. And here's all these other stakeholders. Somehow, I've got to build trusting relationships with these people of influence in each one of those stakeholder groups. If I can't do that, if I can only connect with the people that look like me, talk like me, and the like, I'm doomed. I won't be able to lead today. Trust. How do you proactively and intentionally build trust within an organization, build trust with other human beings, build trust organization to organization, department to department? It is the key. And we are in a time that's less trusting than ever before in my lifetime. Okay, trust. Let me give you some keys that I think are needed for trust. 1, vocational competency. Our discussion is about leadership competency, but we're talking about vocational competency, being good at what you do. No one is going to trust someone who sucks at what they do. That doesn't mean they won't be friends with you. That doesn't mean they won't invite you over for a beer and beef and bun at their house. It just means when there's work to be done, they don't want you on the team because you're not vocationally competent. Now, if today you look introspectively within yourself and you know you're not great at your job or great at your volunteer activity or not great, then you better get great. That's a whole nother discussion. That's going back to the change continuum. Yeah, but Ian, I'm in charge of something and I'm not smarter than the people I'm leading. I'm not as skilled vocationally as they are. Many of them have forgotten more about what I have to do than I'll ever know. Difficult, isn't it? Because what if I'm not as good at the task as the people I'm leading? Then what? Okay, write this down. Then just bring some kind of value. See, I trust people that bring me value. So if I'm a supervisor and everybody that I'm supervising knows the job better than me, fine. That's cool, actually. As long as I can bring some value. Maybe the value I bring is that I work out problems, that when everyone's not getting along, I know how to come in, facilitate a dialogue, and fix it. Or maybe the value I bring is I work really good with the other departments. Or the value that I bring is I'm really good with the boss, and I'm able to facilitate improvement for my people. Or maybe I just hold a great meeting. Or maybe I'm just kind. And I follow the rules, but I follow them equally and consistently so the employees know what they can get or know what they can expect. If you are not as vocationally competent as those people you're leading, then you better bring some kind of value. Why are people lucky to have you as the leader? Ask yourself that question. What value do you bring? And I think it is an intentional exercise. Me, I only bring a couple. 1, I work hard. 2, I have an incredible enthusiasm. And 3, I'm constantly pushing the boundaries of what can't be done or what hasn't been done. That's the only value I bring to the people I lead, basically. Not much else. I constantly am pushing them because I love them and because I believe in them and believe in the human capacity. I work my butt off and I have an enthusiasm for life. That's it. That's the value I bring. And then you just surround yourself with people that have great vocational competency. They're great at what they do and better than me at what they do. And that's success. And that's success. And then you treat them like Babe treated the sheep. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you go this way? Now, side note, this is a little far afield. Do I think that there's a time for that dog bark management style, I do think there is a time for that. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. I do think there is a time for the boss method of motivation. And when we talk about motivation, we'll talk about it. But more times than not in the 21st century, the babe approach is going to get farther than the dog approach. Okay. Vocational competency. Got to be good at your task. If you're not, get good at it. If you're not going to get good at it, bring some other value. But be proactive in the value that you bring. Secondly, if you want to build a trusting relationship today, you understand communication. And that there are 4 conduits of communication. In the past, I as the leader would demand that you bent to my communication style. That's not going to fly today. You better understand how to adjust your communication style to meet another's. Now, for some of you, you'll have a hard time with that. Not because you're not good communicators, but your ego gets in the way. Your title gets in the way. Leadership today is not about title or ego. It's about marshaling human capital. For me, I don't care. I don't care about who looks like the winner or the loser. That doesn't matter to me. Let's just get this thing done. And if I need to bend my style to meet yours, awesome. Here's an interesting question to ask those people that you're charged with leading. How do you like to be managed? How do you like to be managed? And then let them dictate how they are led. Now, the beauty of that is it gives them great freedom, but it also gives them total accountability. In other words, hey, I let you dictate how you were being led. I expect you to perform. Another great tool, question number 9, question number 10. Remember in the Leadership History Survey, it'll clearly help you understand how they want to be led. Well, another piece of that is communication. Instead of me saying to you, do it my way, I'm going to say this. How would you like to be communicated with? There are 4 communication styles out there. 4 filters that people push through information through. So before I can go and be an effective communicator, I got to really clue in on these styles. Why is this important? Because you sit in a meeting and you're trying to wonder why somebody doesn't get it. Or you sit in a public discourse and you wonder why half the population isn't understanding the importance of the thing you're advocating for. 4 communication styles. 1, fact-based communicator. It's not just numbers. That might be what you thought right away. But it's also sequential linear communication. If I sit down with somebody and I'm an emotion-based communicator, which we'll talk about in a second, and I'm all over the place, and they're a linear communicator, lost. Totally lost them. Numbers, linear, sequential, fact-based communicator. Emotion-based communicator, which I just alluded to. That's the person that the emotion, the feeling that they have at this moment is how you're going to get, that's the filter you're going to get it. You know somebody like that. How they're feeling is what you're hearing. Then the values-based communicator. This is the individual that their values dictate the filter. Now, even the mafia has values. And if you know how to, their values, you probably are going to have more success in communicating with them. Values-based communicator. Belief-based communicator. Check this out. I believe, I believe, I believe. No matter what facts you show them, no matter what examples you give them, they will say this, that's great, but here's what I believe. So there's some people that just have some deep held beliefs. If you know what those are, you're probably going to be able to communicate with them a little bit better. First of all, which kind of a communicator are you? And second of all, don't you think it would behoove you to think that through what someone else's communication style might be and then adjust yours accordingly? You want to see a great example of this? Watch a truck commercial. A truck commercial has all 4 of those communication styles in play. The fact-based communicator, a fact-based communication, that's the numbers on the bottom or the side of the screen. You know, clicks per liter or MSRP or financing or all those numbers, fact-based communicators. Value-based communicator, if you're any kind of a man, you drive this kind of a truck. Emotion, that's the half-naked girl squirming on the front of the hood of the truck. What does that have to do with driving a truck? But emotions, right? Oh, if I have this kind of truck, I might get that kind of a babe. In a minute, they utilize all 4 communication styles. You want your grant application to succeed? Make sure all 4 communication styles. You want to make sure that your employees hear what you're having to say? Make sure all 4 communication styles. You want to stand up in a public discourse and get your point across? Make sure all 4 have a little bit of fact, have a little emotion, have a little belief, have a little value. Your website, same thing. All 4. Having just one, you leave 75% on the side. Couple of exercises I want you to thoughtfully consider when it comes to open communication. I want you to listen. There's a tangible and intangible exercise. The intangible exercise. Over the weekend, or maybe even next week, I want you to listen. You see, the agent of change understands that building a trusting relationship comes from listening, not talking. You see, we're in a user-driven society where people want to talk about and talk about and talk about and talk about themselves. So let them. I want you to start listening to people like they're going to die at midnight. What? This is goofy. Listen to me. I want you to set down your iPhone, your Android, your whatever. I want you to stop looking at your email, and I want you to focus at people. Looking them in the eye, listening with your eyes, listening with your ears, listening with your intuition. Give them your undivided attention like they were going to die at midnight. What do you mean die at midnight? If you knew the human being standing in front of you at any given time was going to leave the planet at midnight, that would be the end of their life, you would give them your full attention. One of the greatest skills that's lacking today is the capacity to listen. And it's the first step in building a trusting relationship. How many times have you been talking to somebody and you knew they weren't listening? Will you trust them? How many times have you sat in a meeting and you know they're not paying attention? Will you trust them? No, you won't trust them. As simple as it seems, start here. For the next 3 to 5 days, listen to people like they're going to die at midnight. And start at your house. Start with your kid. I need to work on this with my kids. My kids who are telling me about the exciting thing of their day, and I'm thinking about a million other things. And if you want to make sure that your daughter is not tattooed and pierced all over her body, throwing plates at you when she's 18 years old in the kitchen, where were you when I was a kid? Where were you? Listen like she's going to die at midnight. Because if you're not listening, she's going to go find some man who will. I'm talking to dads. She's going to find some guy who will listen, and maybe that's not the guy you want her listening to, or you want listening to her needs, her wants, her desires. I got to work on this. This is something I got to work on for my little girls, little Nia, little Nadia. What's my point? Listen to people. Connect, because you're not going to be able to influence that arrow unless they feel understood. Nothing more powerful than a person feeling understood. Now here's a tangible exercise. A tangible exercise. Next week, I know it's a short week, but how about this? Send out this survey. Send out this survey. What survey? This survey right here. To all of your direct reports. If you're a leader, send it out to all your direct reports. If you work with people, your peers, send it out to them. But send out this survey to people that work with you or interact with you. Now send it out anonymously. Just put it on a sheet of paper, hand it out, tell them to put it in your box anonymously, or tell them to mail it to you anonymously, whatever it is. Send out this survey. It's only 3 questions. Question number 1, what am I doing right? Question number 2, what am I doing wrong? Suggestions for my improvement. Question number 3, if you could send me back to school, what class would you make me take? Kind of a funny question. Now, what's the point of this? The point of this is to get feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Well, what does this have to do with trust? Stop and think about this. If you, think about this, if you got a survey from the boss, your boss, whatever boss means, and they asked you these kind of questions, and you responded, and then you saw them working on the thing that you had given them feedback on, would you respect them more? Jeff, would you respect them more? Of course you would. Would you appreciate them more? Yeah, you'd appreciate that they listened. You appreciate that they took action. Would you trust them more? I don't know if you would, but I know it would increase the likelihood of trust occurring. So here's a proactive way to build a trusting relationship. Expose yourself, ask for feedback, take the feedback, do something with the feedback. Not today, but in the coaching session, we'll talk about what we can glean from this. Now stop and think about it. You're going to send out anonymously. Don't send it out via email and ask them to hit reply all. Anonymously let the followers give you feedback. User-driven society. Build a trusting relationship proactively. You get the feedback, you do something with it. And they respect you more for it. Communication. Listen like they're going to die at midnight, or more tangibly, let people give you feedback. That's open communication. An open door policy is a joke because no one's going to walk in the open door. This is proactive. This is true communication. Know the communication styles and then give people a way to give you feedback. Listen like they're going to die at midnight, or do the survey. Clarity of outcome. Now we'll talk more about this in the coming 3 weeks, but I trust people that have a direction. I trust people. I'm willing to give them my time, my talent, my treasure when they have an outcome. And that outcome has a clearly articulated impact. I don't trust people. I won't give them my time, talent, and treasure if I'm not sure what we're trying to accomplish, and especially if the thing we're trying to accomplish has no meaning, impact. So outcome and impact are critical. We'll talk about that more in the 3 weeks. I will trust people, more likely to trust people, if they can articulate what we're trying to accomplish and if the impact can be articulated and it has some kind of redeeming value. I trust people that have a high emotional IQ. What does that mean? That they have the ability to control their emotions. I love passionate people, you love passionate people, but they have to be able to channel it positively. People that just fly off the handle and I don't know what I can expect, I'm not going to give them all my time, all my talent, all my treasure, all my energy. I'm not going to give them my allegiance because who knows when the next explosion is going to be. Even if you apologize the next day. That doesn't fly anymore. Here's the simplest way to explain high emotional IQ. That when your elevator starts to rise, you can disengage the clutch. And you can think to yourself, what's the best thing for me to say or to do right now to forward the agenda? If you have the ability to disengage that clutch, to me, that's a high emotional IQ. And then finally, trust comes from a relatability, likability, and loving what you do. Relatability. That you can adjust your communication style to meet another's. This is important. Influencing comes from somebody thinking that you can relate to them. Now, do you have to look like them, smile like them, taste like them, do what they do? It helps, but a person feeling understood will make you think, they relate to me. More likely to be able to build trust, more likely to influence. Are you relatable? I'll give you some ways in the coming 3 weeks that you can be relatable. And you know what it revolves around? Listening, asking open-ended questions. Listening, asking open-ended questions, and doing 80% of that listening and only 20% of the talking. Likability. You got to be likable, man. In today's day and age, you got to be likable. Babe was likable. And so the sheep were like, okay, I'm in. Babe was likable, so the sheep said, I'm in. If you're not likable, you're not going to get a lot done. People are going to cross their arms and say, whatever, man. And then finally, loving what you do. No one is going to trust the guy or gal that hates what they're doing or is crusty about what they're doing. Now, I didn't say they wouldn't come to work. They'll come to work. Why? Because they got mortgages to pay. But they won't give their all. It's a funny thing when you start hanging around somebody that loves what they do. In and of itself, that's an energy that makes your arrow want to get in alignment with the other arrows. Trust. Trust. Do you know how to build trust in a proactive, holistic, intentional way? Can you build trust with all kinds of people, with all kinds of background, with all kinds of different talents, experience, and interest? If the answer is either no or I'm not sure, then you're probably not going to be a good catalyst for change today. you're probably not going to be. Now you're looking at your watch right now and saying, Ian, holy crap, we got 15 minutes left and you got a whole bunch of handout. Yeah, that's because we have 3 weeks, brother. Speaking of brothers, I want to give a big shout out to Ian, my brother from another mother in Lacombe. What's up? His name's Ian, my name's Ian. He's my brother from another mother. And I want to give a big shout out to Joyce. Joyce in Pincher Creek, 89 years old. Hey, everybody across Alberta. Joyce, 89 years old, is still learning. I might adopt her as my grandmother. I don't have a grandmother. Maybe I'll adopt Joyce. Joyce, I'm going to adopt you as my grandmother because I don't have a grandmother. Why do I point those 2 people out? Well, Ian was a successful counselor, successful community leader, but he's still learning. And Joyce, 89 years old. 89 years old. Still saying, I'm going to learn so I can make a difference in my community. How cool is that? I know there's a whole bunch of handouts, but we got 3 weeks to unpack it. So in the balance of our time, I'm going to touch on the 3 ways we're going to learn how to deploy this concept of an agent of change, building trusting relationships to act as a catalyst for change. We're going to do it in 3 avenues. 3 weeks, 3 avenues. The first, how do I get something done in a town? How do I initiate a new program? Or how do I launch a new initiative? How do I get something done if I have no money? I have no credibility. I have no what? How do I do it? How do I create an attitudinal shift? Heidi. Remember you asked that question in the coaching session in the chat or in the forum. You said, how do we get all the arrows going? Here's your answer. How do I get all the arrows to go my way? Here's your answer. See, building trusting relationships to expand your sphere of influence. Sphere of influence. Do you have a sphere of influence? Well, you do, whether you know it or not, whether it's small or big. Now, most people think sphere of influence comes from money. The more money I have, the more my sphere of influence. But today's day and age, that's changed. I can be a blogger sitting in my garage and influence change. I can have a Facebook page and a video camera and influence change. I can create whole movements today just by building trusting relationships. So, what I'm going to do for 1 week of the 3 weeks is unpack for you a strategy that I call 100 cups of coffee. The 100 cup of coffee strategy. Building trusting relationships and expanding your sphere of influence. Let me give you a little teaser to that. In today's day and age, it's almost impossible to penetrate people. What I mean by that is the 17,000 media impressions a month that people get hit with. So how do I get people to give me some time, give me some talent, give me some treasure, give me some energy? The only way I'm going to be able to do that is by building a trusting relationship. The problem is I can't build a trusting relationship with 1,000 people. So all I can do is build a trusting relationship with the people of influence within those stakeholder groups. Let me go back to the visual. So here I am. I need these groups to get involved with me and get involved with what I want to do. The only way to do that is to identify the people of influence within those groups and build trusting relationships with them. So instead of building relationships with 1,000 people, I only need to build relationships with maybe 8 people. Trusting relationship with 8 people. Because those 8 people have influence. Gladwell called them mavens. They're the people that within their stakeholders that they hang out with, others listen to. Who are the people of influence that you need to get done, that you need on your side to get done what you want to get done? Who are those people? Next week, I'm going to send you an email every day. What? Listen, they'll be really short. They'll be really quick because I'm going to unpack this. I'm going to give you a step-by-step way to engage those people of influence, build a trusting relationship, and create the attitudinal shift that you want to create. It's going to be simple, it's going to be direct, but it's highly effective. And thousands of leaders across the country and beyond have utilized this approach. 100 cups of coffee. But it starts with this. Who are the people of influence? not the people of prominence, the people of influence. The mom with the loudest mouth at the school may not be a person of prominence, but trust me, she's a person of influence. If I want to get something done in the community, I always say, just introduce me to the 5 moms with the loudest mouths in town. That's who I want to build a trusting relationship with. Well, don't you want to talk to the mayor? No offense to the mayors, newly elected or former. Okay? No offense to you guys. I don't need to talk to you. I need to talk to the 5 moms with the loudest mouths in town. I need to talk to the business guy who nobody knows but is pulling the strings. I need to talk to the 3 people in the faith community that they've been around for a long, long time and they know how to get something done. Those people of influence. If I were you, if I wanted to get something done in a community, I'd make a list of the people of influence first. And then I'll give you the strategies of how to go build a trusting relationship with them. All right, so that's the agent of change in the community. Now let's turn the page. Turn the 2 pages, actually. What about agent of change in an organization? Or agent of change in an organization. So I'm going to give you a way over this 3 weeks. In one of the weeks, I'm going to give you a way to initiate change in a group, whether that's in a business or whether that's in a nonprofit, community-based organization, whatever. Organizational change. How do we create? I'll give you a very linear process. But before we do that, let me just say 5 reactions to change that'll whet your appetite to get that tool. 5 reactions to change. 1, early risers. These are the people that are excited about change. My wife is excited about change. She likes change. She'll just change things to change them. She bought a house one time while I was gone and told me we had to move when I got back. That is a true story. I was on my way to Banff. On my way to Banff. It was back in the day, so the cell phone coverage cut out. She's like, hey, I just want you to know I bought a new house. What? Because she wanted to change. And literally, when I got back, we were moving. Is that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? She's an early riser. She loves change. And you know people like that. But then there's the early adapters. Now, the early adapter, listen to this. The early adapter, they're okay with change, but give them they need some kind of explanation. They need some kind of explanation. And then they'll be on board. Then, within your work group or within your organization, there's what I call the crowd. These are people who are indifferent. They'll go either way. If the polarity of the group is negative, they'll pull negative. If the polarity of the group is positive, they'll go positive. They are the crowd. Then they are the resistor. They come off being, then there is the legitimizer. They come off being resistant, but they're not. The legitimizer is the person that truly cares, and they ask questions because they really want to know. They're the person at the end of the meeting when everybody says, all right, everybody done? No more questions, right? And then they raise their hand and we all go like this. Oh! They care. They're the person that shows up at the public meeting and we think they might be a kook. They're not a kook. They really care. They're the legitimizer. They are the person that says or does what the crowd wishes it could say or do. They gain their legitimacy from the crowd because they say or do what the crowd won't say or do. And then finally, there is the resistor. Now, why they're resistant, I don't know. They might be resistant because they're angry at you. They might be resistant because they're going through turmoil in their personal life. They're just resistant. And truth be told, you've been resistant sometimes to change. Ian, what's your point of sharing these 5 reactions to change? Because it's what you deal with when you have to implement change. It's what you come up against. You come up to these 5 reactions. So you better have a process. In case of change, break glass. You better have a tool. I'm going to provide you a tool, a linear process for implementing change in a group where all 5 of these reactions to change may be present. Turn the page. The final one. Why don't people just do their damn jobs? Why don't people just do their damn job? How many of you ever felt like that? And whether that was in a business environment, a government environment, a workplace environment, or whether that was a volunteer environment. Why don't people just do their jobs? So the last tool that I'm going to give you is a tool for improving someone's performance. If you're an agent of change, you know how to change someone's performance. Can't be done. Oh, yes, it can. So I'm going to give you a tool for implementing change in community, creating attitudinal shift. I'm going to give you a tool for implementing change organizationally. And then I'm going to give you a tool for implementing change for personal performance. But let me tease that. It'd be my suggestion to you, there's only 3 reasons why people don't perform, employees or volunteers. There's only 3 reasons. Period. There is only 3 reasons when you boil them down. Reason number 1, they don't know the expectations. They don't know what to do because no one clarified the expectations. They're working off of a premise of what expectations are. You have another one. Those 2 don't meet, and they have poor performance. Second, the second reason why employees don't perform or volunteers don't perform is because they don't have the ability, the tools, or the training. We'll just call it they don't have the tools. They don't have the physical tools within them. You hired the wrong person. They don't have the actual tools. They don't have the broom and the dustpan that they need, or the computer, or the whatever. Or they didn't get the training. You didn't give them the training that they needed. They don't have the tools. Third, they choose not to. What? See, there are some times that they have a choice in the way they do things, and there's some things they don't have a choice in. Policy, procedure, protocol, whatever. Sometimes employees get those 2 things confused, and they think they have a choice, and they really don't. Now look what it says. All 3 of those are the leader's responsibility. All 3. Now this is going to be the place we have the greatest debate. Because some of you right now are like, that's crap. Well, you know what? When that week comes that we go over this, at the end of it, then you tell me if it's crap. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in today's day and age, you boil back down poor performance, it'll boil down to one of these 3 things. And each one of them takes a different approach to then move to better and then eventually standard and then above standard performance. So all of you business guys and gals out there, this is the heart of the matter for increased profitability, for increased performance, efficiencies, and effectiveness. If you don't have a way to act as an agent of change, of changing somebody else's performance, you're going to be stuck. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. So all 3 of these are whose responsibility? The leader's responsibility. It's the leader's responsibility to clarify expectations. It's the leader's responsibility to hire the right people, provide the training, or provide the tools. And it's the leader's responsibility to clarify what people have a choice in and what there is no choice in. And if they choose to continue, they choose to not be with us anymore. Well, that doesn't sound like the babe style of leadership. Oh, it is the babe style of leadership because it clarifies where there's choice and where there is not. Today's effective leader is an agent of change, and they know how to change performance. Look at that box down there. The agent of change knows how to take an employee or someone they're charged with leading, where they're at today, to what they can potentially become. It is the gap that is the leader's job. The management style that I'm going to advocate is coaching when it comes to poor performance. Now, some of you may have heard that before, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take a different take on it. A different take on it. So perk up your ears when this comes up. The way you approach your job is the key factor in successful employees. Know as a leader that your treatment of an employee or volunteer has a positive or negative effect on how, we spelled that wrong, on how the employee or volunteer views you personally, as well as how they view the organization as a whole and the quality of life they spend with their family. You have an impact on their family if you're not a good leader. So during that week, I'm going to give you a way. I'm going to give you tools to change someone's performance. Now, ultimately, will it rest on them? Yes. So if they don't improve their performance, I'll give you some tools that they're no longer with us. But at the end of the day, an agent of change, it starts in the same place. I can build a trusting relationships to influence someone's performance. I can build trusting relationships to change a culture of an organization. I can build trusting relationships to create an attitudinal shift in a community, launch a new project, launch a new program, get funding for my playground, whatever it is. It all starts in the same place. It starts with that page, that first page, wherever it's at, that page where we talked about trust. It all starts with your capacity and ability to proactively build trust. And where are you going to start that? You're going to listen to like people are going to die at midnight, and you're going to send out that survey. Listen to people like they're going to die at midnight, send out that survey. Now we're coming up to the end of our time together. So please, 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 please understand the learning model. Over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to unpack these things. I don't have time, dude. 15 minutes a day. I will unpack them at 15 minutes a day. Each one of those 3 things will be 1 a week and then 15 minutes a day. The skills to initiate a community project, 15 minutes a day. The skills to initiate change in an organization, 15 minutes a day. The skills to improve performance in another human being, 15 minutes a day. Now, what if you get behind? You can't get behind, dude. You can't get behind because everything's archived if you want to revisit it. Now, if you only have a you don't have 15 minutes a day, then pick out which one of these 3 things would have the greatest impact in your performance right now. The greatest impact in your performance right now. I need 3 more minutes. Hang with me for 3 more minutes. I know we're 2 minutes over. Hang with me. So if coaching better performance in your workplace, that's what you need to focus on, then when that comes out, just don't worry about the other stuff, just focus on that. If you're really on fire about a new initiative in a community, then focus on that. If you need to make some change within a work group, then focus on that. If you have the time to focus on all of them over the 3-week period, 15 minutes a day, awesome. But if not, then just pick out the one, the week that you can, it'll be 3 weeks, 1 a week, then just focus on that one. Business, faith organization, community-based, whatever you are. This is how we're able to communicate with a lot of different people who have a lot of different goals for the program. Because we're going to let you pick. It's a buffet. You pick which is going to make your greatest impact. 2 final thoughts. We've already started to get notes from you of people that are doing things. Some of you have called your best boss or interacted with your best boss. Some of you have actually started to set up the scholarships, the bursaries, the RESPs. We've already gotten emails of people that are starting scholarships, RESPs, and bursaries in the name of your best leader. How cool is that already? Already change is occurring. Already tomorrow is going to be a little bit better than yesterday. So this is going to get real tangible real fast. Because if you notice in the last part of your handout, the last page of your handout, you saw the commitment action plan. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to start asking, what's your commitment? What's your commitment? You don't have to do it today. Because I want you to send out that survey first. Because those people are going to tell you what you should work on, what your commitment should be. But at the end of this 3 weeks, I'm going to ask you to make your commitment. What's the thing you're going to do? What's the one thing you're going to commit to getting better at? Remember, you're getting this for free. So what's the one thing you're going to commit at? I don't need it today, but just know at the end of this 3 weeks, I'm going to start asking you for your commitment. What's the one thing? Imagine if 87 people in Delburn, a community of 800, all make a commitment, kids, seniors, whatever. Imagine if 164 people in Pincher Creek all make a commitment. Imagine if the 160 in Lacombe or in Hannah, the 90 or whatever it is in Hannah. What if all of those people made a commitment to be better at the end of this thing than they were at the beginning of that specific thing in their family, in their workplace? You think those communities will get better? You're damn straight they will. So know that that's coming. That was my first thought. Now this is my second thought. I got 1 minute to say it. This weekend is Remembrance Day weekend. It's important to me, and I know it's important to you. I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be in North America if it wasn't somebody willing to serve. As many of you know, I was adopted. I was adopted by a military man who brought me to North America. He served 33 years. He didn't die, but he served in the military. To honor that man, who wasn't always the greatest father, but he gave me life, if you know what I mean. The Let Them Be Kids program is, in most instances, we name the playgrounds and skate parks and fitness parks after fallen soldiers. Anthony Bonecca, Corporal Kluge, Answorth Dreyer, Mark Graham, the Canadian Olympian, who also was a Special Forces member of the Canadian Forces. Corporal Albert Storm, Captain Nicola Goddard, Corporal Kennedy, Corporal O'Quinn. Do you know these names? I do. I know them because we built playgrounds in their name. I remember Corporal Storm's parents in Crystal Beach, Ontario. I remember meeting them. I remember them talking to me and thanking me for helping build them a playground. I said, we didn't do much. It was the firefighters here. It was the community. It was these 400 volunteers. And I just remember her thanking me. I remember meeting Nicola Goddard's mom, the first woman killed in Afghanistan. And I remember her thanking me. It seemed ridiculous that she was thanking me. Thanking me for what? What's your point? My point is that my wife and I have made a commitment, and I hope you'll thoughtfully consider that commitment. That Remembrance Day is more than just about remembering. It's about commitment to building a country that would be worthy of those people's sacrifice. About building a country that could be a beacon of hope to countries around the world of what 21st century community could be like. After I met Corporal Storm's family, I said to myself, I've got to do everything I can to honor that young man. Not through building more playgrounds necessarily, or not through giving money away, but by building a country that would be worthy of the sacrifice. So I strongly encourage you at 11 o'clock on November 11th, as you stand, start to think to yourself, what could I do to build a country that would be worthy of the sacrifice of those young men and young women who in times of war or peacekeeping served? And ultimately, that's the number one way to remember. Build them something special that would be commensurate to the sacrifice they gave. I know I've been long today, and I'm sorry. Have a great holiday weekend. You won't get an email on Monday, although I think we have a Remembrance Day message, so I guess you'll get that. And then we'll kick back things in learning on Tuesday. Thank you for participating in this program. Thank you for helping to build a better community for not only this generation, but the generation to come. And let us never forget. Thanks.
Now we're gonna start a new day. Saw my feet hit the sidewalk. Now I'm gonna make my